Hello and welcome to From a Basement in Tulsa. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. That's real cool of you. It's a double feature or a double header or whatever you might want to call it. It features Abandoned Kansas and also my friend Terry Gamel. Terry's involved with Oaklake Trails Naturist Resort, and he came to tell us about that, and it was a pretty cool conversation we had, so thanks, Terry. But first, Abandoned Kansas stopped by. They had a few minutes before our gig and stopped to say hello to the From a Basement in Tulsa listeners, and I appreciate that. They let us play a song, and we had a few minutes of a conversation, and it was pretty sweet. Actually, the next day, I found the ticket from what I believe is our first gig together. I keep all my tickets, or a lot of tickets that I enjoy, like shows I played or shows I've been to, and I tape them to my toolbox, and it's pretty cool. I found it from 2011. That was a dang long time ago. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Here's Abandoned Kansas. I'm here with freaking Abandoned Kansas, and I'm stoked to have you dudes. What's going on?
What'd you say we were? Freaking Abandoned Kansas?
Freaking Abandoned Kansas.
That's us, Freaking Abandoned Kansas.
For sure.
Abandoned Kansas LLC.
Welcome back.
Stoked to be here.
Welcome back to Tulsa with a room with much, much less mold than the last time I saw you.
Oh, wow. That house show.
That was fun, man. I was having a good time, but I'm glad I wasn't.
Yeah, Rudy's a nice guy. Not necessarily the place you want to have a show, but
Dude, I had fun. I didn't care.
it was good.
And I guess you probably better introduce yourselves, too. Say who you are.
I'm Jeremy on the red mic.
I'm Nick. I am on a navy blue mic.
I'm Nick as well.
Two Nicks.
There's two of us.
Not good for radio.
We're the same person.
I'm Logan.
Well, hello, you guys. I'm glad you're here. I'm stoked to be playing songs with you, too. Again.
No kidding.
I mean, I've been seeing you play for a long, long time now, and that's freaking awesome.
I'm pretty pumped to play in Tulsa.
Yeah, when was the last time we saw you?
I saw you guys at Rudy's, probably. I don't know.
It was
Maybe 6 months ago. 4
That was
months
no
ago.
good.
That was
It
no
was-
good.
It was odd. I don't know the time before. I think maybe it would have been Eclipse, which also may have been a bit sketchy.
Eclipse. Wow, you didn't catch one of the Vanguard at all?
Oh, no. At the Vanguard, I saw you guys.
Yeah.
And then I personally got really, really drunk and dragged you at the top of the Hunt Club and made you play acoustic songs with me for several
was an
hours.
awesome night.
That was really cool.
I remembered the post show. I didn't know if you had seen the show.
Yeah, I was there. I think it was maybe Seabird or something along those.
Seabird.
Nice.
We played with Seabird and Clemency, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bad tour.
That was
Never tour with Seabird.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I was trying to think of the first time I saw you guys play. I think I was on the show. I think maybe it was 26 years ago in Claremore with the wedding, maybe.
26 years.
I think it was that long ago. I don't know if it was a wedding you guys were playing with, but it could have been.
We toured with the wedding. We played at the King of Clubs in
Yeah,
Claremore.
I think I played that show
Wow.
forever years ago.
That's crazy. Those guys that are in the wedding printed our T-shirts for this tour.
Yeah, awesome.
Now
I think
they're running a shirt company.
Loner Rebel is what they're
Yeah.
calling it, I think. Good for them dudes. I think they live in Tennessee now.
They do.
Maybe.
They live in Nashville. We saw them on this tour.
Good. Well,
I don't know.
welcome back. How have you been doing, dude? And dudes.
Dude and the dudes.
Dude and dudes.
I guess we're good. We've been on the road.
Jeremy just got married.
Oh, man, I saw that. Congrats, dude.
We've had a lot of marriage in our camp. I got married in June, and Nick got married in July. And now we've left our wives for a van full of men. So we've been on this tour for a couple weeks. Got a couple left. So right in the middle of it, right in the really tired part of it.
Oh, I can see that.
You leave excited, and in the middle you get exhausted, and then towards the end you just get silly.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes.
Excited for going home. And I think I've told your story before about your first show in Tulsa. It may have been your first show out of town, I think you said.
At the Pink Eye? Oh
Yeah.
my
Pink
goodness.
Eye.
There's a place called the Pink Eye?
It's formerly known as the Pink Eye. It's not around.
That's probably a good choice.
Yeah, it's gone.
Who decided that was a good idea for a club name?
I have no idea. Probably the owner. Maybe.
What?
I don't know who that was.
Probably
Could have
the
been.
owner. Fair enough. That was our first out-of-state show as a band in Kansas. I remember finding out we were confirmed for the show. I was in concert choir in college, and I got a text message. And text messages were like 25 cents back then, so you had to be careful. Like, I didn't reply. You just got the text, and it was like, you're good to go for the Dismas show. We were opening for Dismas
Very good.
at the Pink Eye.
Dude, was
and
that before the colored screens? Was that when Like, because I remember my Nokia just had a white and black
No,
screen.
I guess that's all it had was just the flat 2D screen. But the stupid part was that I won't forget is that we made posters for the Tulsa show and put them up in Wichita. That's how excited.
That's pretty exciting.
That's how pumped we
Just
were.
letting everybody know we're out of here.
Yeah. Just letting you know we have a show like 3 hours from here. So I'll be busy this weekend. You know where I'll be. You probably saw the poster.
I had some dudes send me posters, and I didn't look before I printed them. And we were playing 2 shows, one in Oklahoma City and one here. And I still have all of the Oklahoma City printed pictures I have because they sent an email of the wrong one. So I just have all these Oklahoma City posters hanging behind you on the window. Same kind of thing.
People mess up posters all the time.
That's exciting. Lots has changed since then, though, huh?
Lots of changes.
Lots has changed since abandoning Kansas the first time.
That's true, man. That was 6-7 years ago. We just got out of school. Lots changed. A lot of rotating cast of faces playing with us, and a lot of places back and forth across this country. A lot of miles on the van. I think the van turns 200,000 tomorrow.
It may already have.
Oh, what? We missed it?
I didn't look today.
Shoot.
It does need an oil change.
That's a pretty big milestone, then. I don't think I've had a car hit 200,000.
We bought it with like 60, so when I add up that I've sat in that van for all those miles, that's kind of scary.
It's pretty wild.
A lot of time. We had some funny stuff happen on this tour. We played a really interesting show in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
At right in the ghetto, we pulled up, and there was already a ton of cops and caution tape. And then we loaded in right next door to that, like literally feet away from that. And there was a drug deal that had gone south, and somebody had been shot and killed right next to our stage.
That's a rough way to start a night.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't been in New York at all, but I hope my experience is that good. That good. I hope it's as fun.
Well, this is Western New York. It's nice. I don't know.
Upstate.
In Michigan, we played, and the power went out in the whole block.
That was fun. I'm from
Before our
Michigan.
show.
That was my hometown.
We thought that wasn't going to happen. It ended up coming back on. So, we've been to Nashville. We went to the furthest south we went, and they talked pretty funny. It was South Carolina. Had a lot of sweet tea. They brought us like 10 jugs of sweet tea.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Logan drank 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I didn't even get any.
I tried. Definitely tried.
It was very hot there
It was.
and wet, humid.
What else did we see?
We saw Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, we played in Philly.
Trocadero.
We didn't do a whole lot. We stayed on a World War II base in Valley Forge that
Valley
night.
Forge, yeah.
We stayed in the old World War II hospital.
Mental hospital, we're not sure.
Yeah.
However,
It's a Christian
I had
campus.
some strange dreams.
It's a Christian school campus now, but at one time it was.
Did you have Civil War dreams?
I don't know. I couldn't remember. I just remember waking
Like a
up
vision
just
of the
being
past?
frightened. Interesting shower situation there, too, in the old mental hospital.
Yeah, I didn't take one.
Me neither.
I braved it.
I think I would be pretty frightened going to sleep.
We didn't know till the next morning.
Oh,
so
That it was a
they
hospital.
were nice.
it,
Yeah,
it worked out well.
especially mental hospital.
They
Too many
withheld
movies.
that.
We would have
No
slept in our
joke.
van had we known.
Nah, I think I still would have stayed.
I would have slept in the van.
What are you listening to, man? What are you guys listening to now?
Mm.
Ooh.
Phil Collins.
What?
No, that's not true. He's been listening to The
He's trying
Darkness.
to
Did
sound
literally
cool.
turn
He's
Phil
been
Collins on
listening to
last
The
night.
Darkness.
Hazel Eyes by
There's
The
only
Darkness.
one song, yeah. I'm not really listening to The Darkness. I just jam the same song over and over.
There's a lot of new albums we've been jamming. I really like that new Lana Del Rey, to be honest with you.
That's fine. I don't know it, but actually,
Don't tell his wife.
I think I do know some of it. But I don't
My
don't
wife
mind.
gets
I don't judge.
jealous. She thinks I have a crush on her, and she is right.
It's true. It happens. Mine's Colby Calais
And
forever.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so in love with that
See,
one.
I was in love with Colby Kelly, like the first album.
Yeah.
And then they had a free iTunes download that was one of her new songs, and it was, I don't know. It just wasn't the same. It was like,
Real
I
pop.
don't know.
Yeah, I keep getting angry for a minute, and then I'm like, oh, I forgive you, because it's true love. But the first time I heard favorite song and a bunch of rap over one of her songs, I was like, oh, what are you doing, Colby? What are you doing?
What are you
but
doing?
but now I love that song, so I guess that happens.
Blinded by love.
Yeah, for sure. I've played a few shows with people that like were on tour with her and like could call her, and I was just like,
can we call her?
listen, I just need to say hi. You don't even have to say anything. Just you call her and say hi, and I'm done. I'm over it. But they're like, you're far too weird. Which is true.
Hopefully she doesn't hear this.
You're far too weird.
Another band I've been listening to lately, and I feel like they have a hot chick lead singer, but I've never seen her. I don't know anything about it. Sylvan Esso.
No, she's old and regular looking.
What about her personality, guys?
No, I don't know, but her
What
voice
about the
is
music
something.
she makes,
What about
Logan?
her heart?
Yeah, her music is awesome, dude. Love.
I mean, are you really in it for the music, or?
Yeah. Wow.
Are you in it for
Well,
the
you
double
started with the
cheeseburgers
hot
every
lead
night?
singer line.
No, I
That's what
said I
we're
feel
wondering.
like she might be. Just because her voice.
She sounds hot.
That Sylvan Esso record is cool.
Yeah. For sure. Have you heard that?
I have not, but I will look it up now.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that band at all. I kind of hide in podcasts now. Do you guys listen to podcasts at all? Is your first
Sometimes.
podcast experience?
Jeremy dabbles.
I don't.
Oh,
I
yeah.
dabble, but
You totally
not a
have
whole
one.
lot.
Where can we look up yours? Say yours.
Ours is called Dead Space, and we talk about music and movies. Me and my buddy John back home. We haven't done one in a while, but it's fun.
So while you're listening to a podcast now, you might as well download Dead Space too.
There you go.
Let me play a song of yours, dude, and tell me about it.
Yeah, play the song called The Chase. This is on our newest release, and it's a good jam.
Well, what's it about?
The Chase? Chase is about thinking you love somebody and then realizing you're just in it for the chase, in it for the thrill of it, in it for the crush, the first part, the really exciting part. And then as soon as they turn around and love you in return, you bail.
Right on. Well, dudes, thanks for stopping by for a minute. I'm so glad to see you play. I'm so glad to see you still on the road, playing all of the songs. And I'll play The Chase by Abandoned Kansas. Thanks, dudes.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, man.
Give me what I can't have, and when I taste it, I don't want it no
what's up, man?
Hey, not much. How's it going?
It's good, dude. I'm glad to have you here. Terry is an interesting fella with some cool stories of some stuff that I'm excited to hear about.
Yeah, I'm not sure about interesting, but we'll go with that.
I'm sure we'll end with considering you interesting. But
hopefully.
We started talking about it at Backwoods Bash, and I didn't know anything about what we're here to talk about today. And maybe it's because you're fully clothed every time I talk to you.
That's right.
But as soon as you started talking about it, that's all I wanted to hear about it. I wanted to keep talking. So, I guess introduce what the club you're here to tell me about.
Well, sure. So there's a club in town called Oaklake Trails, and what it is a nudist resort, or a naturist resort if you prefer that term. And yeah, basically just what it sounds like. It's a place where everybody's naked.
That means no clothes.
Typically, although, it's interesting. There are still a lot of shoes.
I'm sure. Just safety.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, the approach that at least I take and a lot of people take out there is that clothes are great when they're for safety. Trying to keep from getting sunburned is awesome. I really prefer not to be sunburned. That's great.
Yeah.
And when it's, negative 10 degrees outside, I'm going to be clothed or indoors, preferably indoors, but maybe both.
So it's a kind of a hiking trail type resort with clothing being optional.
That's right.
Is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's something like 400 plus acres. And right in the middle of all that land, they have developed it fairly well with a clubhouse, swimming pool. They even have a chapel. You can go to church on Sunday morning or get married out there or have other religious ceremonies. They have a whole lot of cabins and stuff like that they've built up, and a lot of people have houses and RVs and such. And then all around that middle area, they have hiking trails down into the woods. And so you can go hiking for miles and miles and miles and never leave the resort.
That sounds awesome. How'd you get involved?
Oh, gosh, that is a long story. But the short version of it is this. When I was 18, my parents discovered it. And I kind of had an idea that they were doing that when I saw them go pack up the van to go out on a vacation for the weekend, and all they took were towels with them. That kind of gave me an impression that something was going on. And then I actually randomly found a letter from one of the naturist organizations about it. And so flash forward a few years, my parents and I don't really talk about things sometimes. So I kind of didn't fill them in to the fact that I had figured out where they were going. They didn't want to bring it up with me. I wasn't going to bring it up with them. So, but maybe 5 years later, they invited me out for Thanksgiving. And I went out there, and it was obviously, because it's Thanksgiving, it was cold, and so everybody kept their clothes on during that. But, everybody was really lovely. The people that invited me into their home to have Thanksgiving with them were just the nicest people in the world. So flash forward a few more years, I was 26, and they decided they were going to have a huge convention down there for all the local region, which is like Texas and Arkansas and Louisiana and Oklahoma. And so people from all these states came up for this convention, and I decided to go check it out during that weekend. And after about 2 hours, I finally said, let's try it.
Yeah. And that's how it starts.
Yep.
Then you're hooked. Just clear anybody's first assumptions on what that may be. Maybe describe a typical day, and just let's start with letting everybody know that it's not a weird sexual thing whatsoever.
Right.
It's actually more of a comfort thing I've read.
Yeah.
I've seen.
That's true. So, there are people who do use it for sexual purposes, but we try, I say we, the management of Oaklake, tries to prevent that from being a major element or a noticeable element even. The rest of us are out there because it's a comfort thing. And so they really push the idea that it's a wholesome activity, that you're doing things that you would do clothed. You're just naked doing them. So they have a swimming pool, I mentioned. You can go swimming out there. You can play water polo and or just lounge around. And that seems to be the major hub of activity. That's where people really congregate, is that pool. But yeah, they'll have like potlucks out there for Thanksgiving or just random holidays in between. They have Halloween out there. In fact, for a couple of years, there was a kid who was living out there with his parents. He was probably 15, 16 when he started this. But he built a haunted house in the clubhouse for Halloween. So I actually went down and helped put that on. I dressed up as a chainsaw maniac, chasing people with a chainsaw. The first year, and then the second year I did it, I was a gorilla, so I had to be in the gorilla costume, and let me tell you, that was hot.
Yeah, I'm sure. So he built a haunted house? He
built a haunted house, and people toured it, and yeah, I mean, it's just very normal, and it's almost surreal how normal it is when you get out there, because you expect it to be something weird, and it's not. It's just people going on with their daily lives, and
with the freedom of no clothes.
Right.
I've read very little about that, and the way it appears to me is, as soon as you get over the shock of it, it just becomes a normal thing. And describe that. What would be a major holdback, or what would be your advice or suggestions?
Well, of course, there's for a lot of people in Oklahoma, especially, there's a religious element. People who have been brought up to believe that it's somehow morally wrong to be naked around other people. And that's something that I think everybody would have to figure out for themselves, But I consider myself a very highly religious person, and I'm still okay with it. And as I say, there's a chapel out there. My mom's actually the pastor of it. She's an ordained preacher and holds services on Sunday morning. As I say, performs marriage ceremonies for people and stuff like that. So I think that it's possible anyway to see it as being something that is morally responsible as opposed to immoral. That's one of the big holdbacks, and as I say, if you're interested in it, you just really need to work that part out for yourself, investigate it, and see what it entails. As far as anything else, it's just kind of because you've had that morality ingrained in you your whole life. It's kind of like peeling back a Band-Aid when you first take your clothes off. In fact, the way I did it, I was out there with an ex-girlfriend of mine now. And so I needed somebody there with me that could give me the moral support I needed. But also, we decided to go on a hiking trail. And that's how I did it, away from everybody else, so that I could try it out on the trail first without having to be surrounded by people.
Yeah.
And that helped me. But, it's different for different people. But certainly that first initial point where you're taking everything off, I think some people do it really slowly, and that's a mistake, because just like a Band-Aid, you just want to rip it off and get it done with.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you think it's changed anything else in your life? I can see that. Maybe that, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or maybe just a freedom thing. Do you think it's changed your outlook?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Away from it?
I'm 60 pounds lighter than I was when I started. And that's partly because back before I got into it, I really had a lot of body image issues. I considered myself a big fat guy, and certainly judging from the comments I got from other people, that was mutual. But when I got into it and started seeing myself naked and started being around other people and having them see me that way, and also just seeing all the different sizes and shapes that the human body comes in, because if all you do is you see nudity in the movies and on your computer and such, you're probably going to be limited in what range of people you see. And when you go out to a nudist resort, you see just all kinds of shapes and sizes, and people who've been through things that, they can't hide their scars because there's no clothing to hide them under. And so I think it's very humanizing. In a weird kind of way, we take away the power that clothing has to hide behind and try to pull a veneer over our humanity. We build houses and keep them clean and build roads and cars and everything else to try to be less human, I think. And this is distinctly more.
That's a great way to describe that. That's awesome. Another question I have is, you said ex-girlfriend, so you've obviously had more girlfriends since then. How does that come across? Is that difficult to bring up when you... Maybe,
yeah.
Is it third date, fourth date?
That really depends. I'm now in a stable relationship, so I hope it's never going to have to come up again.
For sure.
But yeah, it really is. In fact, I had a girl that I told one time who just went completely off the rails, and was so concerned about my lifestyle, etc., that she told her mother. And her mother sent me this big, long email about how what I was doing was a sin. And I responded on every point and said, well, okay, you're wrong. Here's what this is, and this is, and this is, etc., etc. She didn't read a word of it and wrote me another letter, basically verbatim from the previous one. So yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie. And in fact, it's hard to just bring that up with other people. I don't just bring it up with other people typically, because I have to have some kind of idea that somebody's going to be okay with talking about it, or at least not want to push me off and never be my friend again after they hear about it. A lot of times other people bring it up for me because a lot of my friends know and just think it's funny.
Have you met Terry? He likes being naked.
Yeah, exactly. And what? So yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking. I think with my girlfriend Emily, I brought it up probably on the second date, because I already knew by that time that I wanted to be with her for a while, and I wanted to get past that hurdle as quickly as possible. But a lot of times I'd bring it up right away, and that was a bad idea. So
I remember when I smoked cigarettes, I would try to hide it at least the first several weeks. And I feel like that's much different, because I guess you can make something in your head wrong about that, but I don't see that as wrong. However, I do see why some people would be uncomfortable with the idea. But I can't imagine somebody being like, well, you can't do that anymore. I can understand maybe somebody not wanting to go, but then you probably wouldn't want to be with them either. Is it a big part of your life? Do you consider it?
I don't. And I think it's different for me than for most people. Let me put that out there first, because there are people out there who, even when it is -5, -10 degrees outside, they're still naked. And if they absolutely have to put something on, they'll put on a robe real quick just to get between buildings, and then as soon as they're in the next place, take it back off. So I think for most people out there, it is a major part of their life, especially if they've relocated. A lot of people sold their houses in town and have built or bought new houses or trailers out there, RVs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think for them, it is a major, major part of their life. For me, it's more like, I think that it's something that I wish could change about our society. Like, I think that it's ridiculous that we have these hang-ups about clothing and nudity, because it would be a whole lot easier. Like, imagine if you, let me give you a little story. We went down to Austin not too long back, and they have a really awesome public pool and river that go through a huge, ginormous park down there. And so you obviously can go swimming, but you have to prepare for that. You have to bring your swimsuit with you. You have to bring, if you decide to go in with your clothes on, you got to bring a change of clothes, etc. If we could all just be naked everywhere, just take it off and jump in. It's no big deal. So I think that's my take on it, that I'm more into it because it doesn't make sense to me, or being clothed doesn't make sense to me. Certainly there are times when I am very grateful to be, like this afternoon with the sun beating down. I wish I could be naked for the heat, and I wish I want more clothes for the sunlight. But I mean, it's a important part, but I wouldn't say it's major. If I had to give it up, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but I don't want to.
Understood. Do you have, without revealing somebody's personal info,
right,
if it's wrong to talk about, but do you have people in mind that you've seen just super changes, like successful, positive changes because they got involved with it?
Honestly, most of the people that I've known really well haven't gotten involved with it. I think that for the most part, historically anyway, I've been friends with people who just aren't interested for one reason or another. That's changing somewhat now. And so, to a limited extent, but I haven't had really a whole lot of experience there yet. In fact, of all the people that I've told about it, only one person so far has actually joined me. So,
what about just people that are there already? Do you have? Because I imagine there's people there that have just, I don't know, maybe evangelists of the the nudist naturalist.
Well, I don't know them from before, so I can't say that. I guess my parents, but honestly, I see my parents not every day, but while they were going through that, I saw them every day, and it wasn't really a major stretch. My dad would sit around in his underwear anyway, even when we had people over. So even when I told my friends that they became, that my parents became nudists, they were like, yeah, that doesn't really surprise me.
Not surprised at all. I think I was just surprised. I don't know what I was surprised about. I just maybe surprised I hadn't heard about it before.
Yeah.
Is it bigger elsewhere?
Florida is really big, and France, and Germany. Germany, oh my goodness, Germany is like the cornerstone of it. That's where it all started, and that's still where it's most heavily practiced. But in Florida, there's a county called Pasco County, which is right outside of Tampa. And they have something like 5 or 6 clubs all right next to each other there. So it's kind of considered the nudist capital of America. Oklahoma's got 2, I think, maybe even 3 now, because I saw something about that recently. But considering that we've only got 3 million people here and that we are somewhere to the right of Darth Vader politically, that's pretty impressive. California certainly does, especially the San Francisco area. But, I mean, there's Southern California, too. They're all over. The only state that I think is completely devoid of anything is Arkansas, and that's because Arkansas actually has laws against it. You can't even talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised about that with Arkansas whatsoever. I was actually going to ask, I read an article recently, and the only thing I can think of right now, because it's going on right now, is Satanist Church is trying to build that monument in Oklahoma City. Right. And then they're trying to have a service, I guess. They rented a public building, and then so the Catholic Church, according to this article, is really fighting that to let them have a service in Oklahoma, in their state or whatever. Do you see that kind of force against you? Are people, and with jobs, do people...
Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't bring it up, is just because I don't want that to possibly prevent me from getting a job.
That's weird that that's an issue.
Yeah, but that's more of a fear part on my side. I have seen a little bit. For instance, my mom used to be a member of a church singing group. It was 4 people at this one church that all went around and sang together. And when they found out, they kicked her out of the group. And then there was an organization of churches down in around where this resort is. And she tried to become a member of that organization. And all but 2 of them, I believe, if I'm telling the story correctly, all but 2 of them said no. And so actually the 2 that were okay with it still were very welcoming to her. And so there are good signs in with the bad. I guess that's what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah, that's pretty infuriating to me.
Yeah.
That it's an issue.
Oh.
Because... Go ahead.
Sorry. You'd think maybe politically it would be a problem too, but actually, politically speaking, Oklahoma's been great. I think that whole libertarian bent helps us in that case, because they're very supportive of the resort, and very supportive of everything that the resort's tried to do. This place was only built back in like 1994, 93, so it's only about 20 years old. And, they always have to get new permits for things and stuff like that, and they've always had their I's dotted and their T's crossed, and the state and the county have been very appreciative of that and haven't really fought back against them either.
That's excellent. Another question, what is it? It's certainly a very family-friendly type of thing. I
Right.
You got to stress enough that it's not some kind of weird sexual thing. If it is, it's not something very noticeable, I guess. It's not the point of it, or the...
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, it's not a major part of what's going on. Do people bring entire families? Are kids raised with that?
Yeah, I don't think there's any kids living out... Well, I take that back. There's one kid out there whose grandparents have a place, and so he's out there pretty much all the time during the summer, at the very least. But so he may be actually being raised there. But yeah, so back to your question, it's open to anybody. People bring kids out there. Well, I say anybody. They do a background check, make sure you don't have a criminal record and stuff like that. But people do bring their kids out there. Kids are naked just like the adults are, and kids actually take to it pretty quickly because, a lot of kids, it's a struggle to put their clothes on them in the first place. So, yeah, they seem to enjoy it. as I say, I don't think there's anybody raising their kids out there right now. But back to your other point, that it's not sexual. I think if you went out there with the idea that it was, you'd be disappointed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I can kind of see how somebody's first reaction would be that, because it's such a taboo.
Oh, yeah.
Like nudity, and so obviously it's got to be something dirty and evil. But,
right.
But if you just take a second to think about just about anything, you can find why people find happiness doing whatever it is they do. So, I don't know. I'm really excited to hear stuff like that. Maybe counterculture or somebody fighting the man. But
there's a little bit of that.
I'm sure. The most I read about it was a teenager did a Reddit AMA. Where she was talking about how she was raised in a nudist family, and everybody was so worried about her. And she's like, "No, it's the only reason you feel that way is because you weren't raised this way. It's just it's just normal to me, and that's a cool thing, I think."
Yeah, if you can imagine the fact that if you can get past that idea that there has to be some sexuality involved to it. And strip that away. Pun not intended. Then there's really no reason why it should be a problem. I mean, the only reason why I think we would worry about that is we're worried that people are going to be, sexually attracted to the kids or anything like that. But honestly, at least with guys, you can tell when somebody is sexually attracted to somebody.
That was my another funny thing is when we were talking about it, that was my first question when I realized it's absolutely nothing sexual, and you didn't even have to let me finish getting my question because I was stumbling over words. I was like, "So what happens if you?" And you immediately were like, "You just hide it, man." I didn't even have to finish the question.
And you do, but at the same time, it doesn't happen. So I think that goes back to, again, the idea that there's nothing sexual about it, so you're not going to have any physiological responses to sexual stimuli because they're not there. But if you do sense a sudden overwhelming sensation, it is considered polite to grab a towel and cover that up so that other people aren't having to see it themselves. And that goes back to the whole sexuality thing. It's because it's very... Not only is it not sexual, but it's pointedly trying not to be sexual. Anything that could violate that, is not necessarily welcome. So try to cover it up.
Can you speak any for maybe the female point of view? I understand you won't understand it completely.
Oh, definitely not.
But do they feel safe?
I think so. At least the stories that I've heard. Now, you do hear there is a website out there that posts counter stories because this one person felt very unsafe and went on kind of a anti-nudist crusade, if you will.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think so. There's if you're a woman who's remotely interested in it, go out and Google some women's accounts, because there are a lot of women who have just amazing stories about how it's changed their lives. I think that now this is one of the big questions in nudism. Men do slightly outnumber women. It used to be a lot worse than it is now, but it is still an outnumbering. And considering women outnumber men in the general population, that's statistically significant. So that's one of the questions that always gets raised in nudist communities, forums, etc. Is why is it that men are more attracted to it than women are? And for my own personal theory, which, again, everything in that is theory, but my own personal theory is that society has so heavily sexualized women that it's even harder to break that association, that it has to be something sexual.
My thought is possibly that when you take away the sexual culture, because even as hidden as it's supposed to be, it's very, very prominent in everything we do, sexual culture.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm picturing a resort or a world without that, and that would also eliminate a lot of the predator issue.
Definitely.
If you can, I don't know, I guess I can't really speak for it because I've never experienced it, but I'm imagining it as just as almost a non-issue. Certainly, I'm assuming there's biological things that can't be
right
taken away, but it'll be much less prominent, I would assume.
Well, and, going back to the idea of predators, not all, I would say that most of them do it because of power rather than sexuality. But certainly if there is any sexual element, that's heavily negated. But to the other side of that, it's a very tight-knit community. And I think that again, tight-knit. I can't get away from clothing puns.
I didn't even catch it.
But it's a very close community. If you are a first-time visitor there, people are going to know that you're a first-time visitor there, generally speaking, unless it's one of these big holidays. But it's also a very welcoming community, and people watch out for each other. And I think that's really where the risk factor comes down, because when you do get to know everybody and when people are watching out for each other, there's less anonymity there, and anonymity is definitely the friend of the predator.
That makes sense. Do you I think it's kind of a weird question, but a lot of what people talk about as one of the main benefits of a religious experience, a religious community, is that community right there. Do you find that it's the same way with that community, with the naturistic community?
Right.
I can see that. Everybody supporting each other. That sounds awesome, actually. It sounds pretty great.
Yeah, and their potlucks are just like church potlucks. Seriously, they are. Same kinds of foods at them.
Perfect. Where can people find information?
So there's a lot of resources. As I say, you can just Google it, although if you're worried about...
don't do an images search.
Yeah, don't do an images search. Not at work. Definitely not at work. Well, I mean, I say don't do an images search just because if you're at work, you shouldn't. But obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with any truly nudist pictures that you would find. But as far as information... So the resort that I'm talking about, Oaklake Trails, has their own website. I think it's oaklaketrails.com.
Yep, I have it up.
And there's, as I say, a couple of other resorts here in Oklahoma. You can also find information from the national organizations. The one that I've been a member of, I'm not right at the moment, but I have been in the past, is the American Association of Nude Recreation, which is AANR.com. They have very handy guides, other information. Just if you've got questions or concerns about it, you can usually find the answers there. And then any resorts that are members that are affiliated with them are also listed on their site. And there are resorts and clubs that are not affiliated with them, but as far as the family-friendly environment, I think that they're a fairly good, source for that.
Are there different, styles, maybe is the word, of naturistic communities? Or is there different beliefs held by different organizations?
Certainly. As I say, we're family friendly, but there are non-family friendly ones out there. There's a place, for instance, that holds an annual photo, not competition, but where they bring in women to pose for photographers and stuff like that. And I find that is very much antithetical to the family-friendly concept. And, it's a bad misogynistic thing to do anyway. But there are also just a variety of clubs as far as what the possibilities for things to do are. For instance, a lot of states don't really have specific, what they call them, landed resorts, which is they own land. They have non-landed clubs, which means that people get together at each other's houses or they travel to a resort somewhere else. And so that's another possibility. And then there's simply public lands. Now, Oklahoma doesn't have any public lands that are clothing optional, but I recently went, as I say, on that trip down to Austin. And the last day of the trip before coming back, I decided to stop by Lake Travis, which is a big lake just west of town. And they have one of the little park areas of the lake is called Hippie Hollow. And
I love it.
You pay a day fee, you park, and you walk down. And it's not really a beach. It's more like a stone-strewn, it kind of looks like what you have left over after you have a rock slide on a mountain. It's just rocky, very, very rocky, and very, very steep. So it's not necessarily comfortable, but it's nonetheless a public clothing optional place, and a lot of people go there for that. So yeah, we've got a lot of options. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, that was just great answer.
Okay.
So we got Labor Day weekend coming up, correct?
Yes.
If this happens upon somebody's ears that may be interested, what can they do?
I would say go to oaklaketrails.com. You can find their contact information there. If you're in Oklahoma anyway, go there. And if you would like to go out and see for yourself what it's all about, Labor Day weekend will be a great time for that. They're having a lot of events over Labor Day. Every holiday, every summer holiday anyway, Memorial Day, the 4th of July, and Labor Day, they have these team competitions and games that they do. And so if you want to just go out there and join in on the team and have fun participating in these competitions, it's like tug of war and relay races and volleyball and egg tosses and, kind of almost first day of college type competitions.
Yeah.
But if you want to go out there and participate in that and get to know people through that, this Labor Day weekend is going to be a great time for that. Friday night, they're going to have a special dinner out at their bistro there. Monday morning, they're going to have a breakfast buffet, and I think they've got several other things going on as well during that time. And of course, typically on those holidays, the place tends to be a little packed too. So if you want to go out there, on another weekend, they'll probably be the swimming pool out there will probably still be open into October, and they have a hot tub too, and that's pretty much open year round. So there's always something to do. Give them a call, and that way you can arrange a visit. Now, the good news is that first-time visitors out there, if you let them know that it's your first time going to a nudist resort, they will let you in for free, I believe. And so, yeah, you can call them and tell them that, and they'll set up the visit with you, tell you how to get into the property. They've got a gate on the property so people can't just wander in.
Yeah.
But yeah, set that up.
That's awesome. it's cool that, I mean, I love hearing stories about things like that, and I love that you use the word humanizing.
Yeah.
I love that word I don't know why, but it's one of my favorites. So, dude, thanks a lot for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
To talking about this in the basement. That's really cool. That's all I got.
Now we got to bring it out of the basement.
Now we'll shoot it to the interwebs.
That's
and
right.
Somebody will hear it, and I don't know. It's just a cool thing that I love hearing about stuff that you don't hear about all the time.
Absolutely.
And getting rid of your initial assumptions, because if people are doing it and enjoying it, there's probably a reason. And though it may never be mainstream, certainly there's people that can benefit from having that freedom.
And you say not mainstream, and it's definitely not, but something like 500,000 people are members of the national organization, and something like 2% of the population has tried it at one point. So
that's a lot. That's big numbers.
Yeah, big numbers.
So don't worry about it. If you're interested in it, it doesn't matter. Check it out. Nobody's going to judge. Well, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for coming. And what was the website again? OaklakeTrails.com or AANR.com. Great. Thanks for coming, man. Again, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And leave nice things on iTunes and wherever if you enjoyed it. Thanks again, and I'll see you or talk to you next week.